that some fighter planes would attack the train. Fortunately, they didn't. And we went on, and some night on the 18th of February of 1945, we ended up in Theresienstadt. They unloaded the luggage, they took it away from us, and they gave us a shower. And fortunately, it was a water shower, not gas showers as in other places. And they gave us some dumplings to eat. And we were very starved at the point because we had very little food. Whatever we brought along, a sandwich or two, were long gone, and 4 days later we were pretty well starved. So we didn't see any Gestapo. We saw Czech policemen, gendarmes, in uniform. And they separated my father from us, from my brother and me, and sent us to, they called it a youth home, a home for young people, where there were many other youngsters in 3 high bunk beds where we slept. Most of the other kids were Czechs, and they spoke Czech. And we didn't speak Czech, we spoke German. And whenever we said something in German, they resented us because they held us as Germans responsible for what was happening to them in Theresienstadt, in the camp. The beds had straw pillows, blankets were minimal, and I remember distinctly bed bugs all over the place. They congregated up on the ceiling, and you could actually see the corner was black with bed bugs. So we were bitten severely, and everything was itchy in Theresienstadt. Theresienstadt was an old fortress, and 7,000 Czechs who lived there as a garrison town before the war were moved out, and about 80,000 Jews at the high point had to live in the same quarters. It was really a transit camp. All the people that we knew from 1942 that were sent to Theresienstadt were not there anymore. They had been shipped to Auschwitz in 10 or 15 different transports of about 1,000 people each. Fortunately, we did not know about gas chambers in Auschwitz. Neither did the people that were sent there. Everything was hidden, and the excuse was always given that they had to be deported again to go to work somewhere for the Germans. All the elderly people who were sent there had died either of starvation or disease, because even though there were many Jewish doctors in Theresienstadt, they had no medications. The last transport from Theresienstadt to Auschwitz was in October 1944, so before we got there, actually, which was fortunate for us. So we lived in Theresienstadt, we subsisted in Theresienstadt. We were hungry. I had to go to work. I was in a garbage detail. We were going through the ghetto streets, picking up garbage, and hunger and fear of the unknown were the main things I remember about Theresienstadt. There were no kitchens as such. There were mass kitchens in the barrack buildings where we had to go 3 times a day with a bucket, and you get a ladle full of something. And the most stuff I remember was vegetable soup, dried vegetables, which they reconstituted and made a soup out of it, with potatoes in it sometimes. So we were cleaning up in the stables, and the horses got more food than we did. So we picked up kernels of corn on the floor and took them home, and there was a stove, and we made popcorn out of it to supplement our food. We also picked out dandelions. Dandelions, when the leaves are young, like spinach. You can cook them and you eat them like spinach. So we subsisted, except my father was very ill. He had diabetes and there was no insulin for him. So he was suffering more than we did. Eventually, close to the end of the war, cattle cars arrived from Buchenwald, which was a concentration camp in the middle of Germany. And sick and dying people were on that train. A lot of them had typhoid as a disease. So I remember my brother and I and other young kids, we had to form lines to separate these people coming off the train, to keep them separate from the rest of the camp because of their sicknesses. And very, very, very few people of those people survived. We had no news in Theresienstadt. We didn't know what the status was of the war, where the Russian front was, where